Hi everybody, welcome to DayZ on the PlayStation 4. Welcome to Livonia, and in this video I'm going to answer the question, is the DayZ Livonia map pack worth buying? And what do you kind of get when you get Livonia? What sort of different experience are you in for? So a little bit of background on DayZ to start off with. It's a zombie survival game. In probably the truest sense of the word, in the fact that this game not only not only has zombies wandering around this mythical country set between Russia and the Black Sea, but your character has wants and needs beyond just simple loot. You have to feed your character, you have to make sure they drink enough, you have to see to their wounds, you have to make sure they don't get too cold. Oh, a sea chest. And you've got to look out for zombies, you've got to look out for wolves, and most importantly, you've got to look out for fellow human beings who are the biggest threat to your survival, or sometimes they can be the biggest aid to your survival too. DayZ's been out since I think about 2013 on PC, and it's been out for a year or so on Xbox and less on PlayStation, but Livonia is the first official map pack that we've had. And the first I'd say is, yeah, if you've got DayZ, it's definitely worth buying. It's only £11.49p. It gives you a whole new huge map to play on, which does give you different experiences to that you'll be used to or you will experience on Chernarus. So another bit of background about sort of the area that we're in. So in reality, actually, this whole country that we're playing in, which again is between Russia and the Black Sea, is called Chernarus. And in fact, the first map we play on is just the northern province of Chernarus, and now we're in sort of Livonia. And it's absolutely huge. You could explore this map for days, weeks and weeks and weeks, months, and you wouldn't, visit every single place. Now, the big difference between Livonia and Chernarus is that I think, and the feedback from the community tends to be, that Livonia is a much more hardcore survival experience than Chernarus. So in Chernarus, when you spawn in as a fresh spawn, you almost always spawn in on the coast. It's like you've been washed up as you've fallen off a ship or something. You've woken up and you don't know where you are, you don't know what you're doing, but you're in this zombie apocalypse, and then you sort of go on from there. But the good thing about that is you kind of can find the basics pretty simply in Chernarus, because you can just stay on the beaches and sort of go left and right along the beaches, or north and south, east and west, and you'll find little boats that'll have stuff in them, and you can get the basics. You can get some food, you get some drink, you can get a backpack, and then there's lots of little towns that you can visit to get some more advanced loot, and then you can head inland. And the idea is that the further you go inland, the better the loot there is, the better the weapons and things like that. With Livonia, you spawn in the top of the map, sort of just north of this big river that I'm coming up to now. Look at this, it's amazing. And then you have to travel south. So it's not quite as obvious where you can get all the basics from. It's very easy to find yourself in the middle of a wilderness for a long time. And you end up sort of starving to death or dying of dehydration. The elements are much tougher in Livonia as well. We have these really long rainstorms, these thunder and lightning storms, where your character will get soaked to the skin, will get cold, and then and you'll die of exposure that way. So it's a tougher experience. So I'd always recommend, if you're new to DayZ, play on Chernarus first, get used to it, and then come over to Livonia when you want something different. Because Livonia can be quite frustrating. As I say, because you may well find yourself dying before you can get that foothold of getting the basics, getting enough stuff to make yourself self-sufficient, where you don't have to worry about starving to death or dying of dehydration all the time. But what makes Livonia such a good buy and a nice expansion is the fact that it is so different. It has a really different character to Chernarus. Chernarus, there's a lot more towns, there's bigger cities, and it feels like, you know, you're in an area where the population was really large prior to the zombie apocalypse. There we go. Let me just deal with this zombie. Right, I would really like your stuff, zombie, if I can have it, but I can't. We still have the bugs and glitches in DayZ as well. And so as you're moving through Livonia, you think, oh, this is quite a bit different to Chernarus. Often you'll find yourself in the wilderness, even near the top of the map, and then as you move further south, you know, you'll come to a few villages, and then you'll come to some really kind of abandoned, run-down villages where basically almost everything has fallen into decay. And you think, oh, right, yeah, this is like the zombie apocalypse happened quite a while ago, you know, and everything started to fall in. And that's a really cool feeling. And then when you go even further south, you come across sort of military bases and interesting places, but the level of loot that you'll find in terms of food and drink drops considerably. So you need to make sure you really are very self-sufficient. You know, you need to have plenty of water, plenty of food, the tools to cut up animals if you capture them. You need to be able to purify your water from water bottles, all that sort of stuff. And then there's the bears as well. Now I know bears are popping up all over the place in DayZ, but you know, when you're out in the middle of nowhere and then you start to hear bears, or you know, you start to hear wolves as well, things are a little bit different, because in Chernarus you can think, right, if I just sprint to this nearest town, I can be safe. Here's a good example here of kind of a area of the map that you don't really see places like this in Chernarus. You know, where it's all falling. Actually, this was probably a building site, wasn't it? But it looks a lot more decayed than Chernarus did, or does. But the challenge of finding loot is a lot harder. So, I don't want this video to go on and on for too long, because the beauty with DayZ is actually experiencing it, is actually playing the game, getting used to the really, really awkward controls and the really awkward sort of survival system. Getting to grips with that, and then simply surviving and having all these wonderful experiences where, you know, you'll either be out on your own in the middle of nowhere, or you'll come across other people and you have, I call them DayZ moments, where, you know, you'll see somebody and it's that question: do you talk to them? Do you not talk to them? Do you attack them? Do they attack you? Have they got a friend round the corner? You don't really come across situations like this in any other game, and they are absolutely amazing, and they'll happen on Chernarus and Livonia too. So, to answer your question, the Livonia map pack definitely worth getting. You know, if you're a DayZ fan, get it now. And what you're going to be getting with that is a much more hardcore survival experience. You know, I like to think of this as the apocalypse. You know. 2 years later, that sort of thing. Whereas in Chernarus, sometimes it feels like the apocalypse has just happened. Anyway, though, that's enough from me. What do you think about Livonia? Are you enjoying it? Are you looking forward to playing it? And if you've liked the video, obviously hit the like button. If you want to see more of the same, press subscribe. Thank you very much, and I will see you again soon.